Remember this little show I was on where I called a few people snowflakes? Well, they didn't like it. Some didn't like it. But this guy went in calling me things that, oh my word, you have to hear. But man, did it ever turn out to be a great situation. Welcome to the channel, Leadership with Mike. On this channel, I help new managers become more confident leaders, and I do that with no nonsense sense, if that makes any sense. Okay, listen, get comfortable. This is story time. This isn't going to be a regular quick edit because we have a topic. We have a chat that takes an angry discussion and turns it into a positive moment. This situation that I'm going to share with you is why I say, as leaders, we need to do more listening and less reacting, less talking. Because when somebody comes to you angry and upset and saying things that you don't like, you can snap at them. You can tell them to stuff it. Or you can do the opposite. You can listen and you can work through it. So here is story time with Mike. It's not going to be a regular thing. So I had this gentleman. His name was Tony. That's all I'm going to share. His name was Tony. But this is the message that I got from him. Just saw you on Dr. Phil. I see a white privileged male who's done very little with his life screaming at someone you don't know. Your generation is responsible for today's generation. You should really acknowledge that. I looked at your YouTube channel. Very few subscribers. Glad to see your work life is an example of hard work. It's truly embarrassing. A man of your age, well, I think I am. Anyway, a man of your age, not successful. I mean, come on, man. Maybe you should quit because our boss is an idiot. Also, calling someone a snowflake tells me everything about you. The world has defined you. You are a white male who has truly failed in life. Your biggest claim to fame is being on Dr. Phil. You are truly out of touch. Balls. Okay, that was my first reaction. Who is this guy? What? Am I the epitome of white privilege? I don't know. So I took this and I thought for a second. So my response to Tony was, first, I mean, come on, we're 20,000 subscribers. We're not huge, but we ain't that small. We got power in numbers. We're going to make a difference. So I replied to Tony saying, I think you missed the big message. Quitting a job, because this was about rage quitting and how an individual went on the PA system and just said a lot of things that were not so kind and were very easy, just like being a keyboard warrior. It's very easy to get on a PA system behind a wall and then dip. There's nothing there to say that that is not cowardly. Let's leave it at that. So I explained that quitting a job, even with rage, is what it is. And it is to make such a scene that Edwin, the person that did it, it was his own detriment. It did not help him. Then I stated, listen, you said I have white privilege, and I can take that, but I'm looking at another white male. So how is this? I don't understand. So we did a little back and forth, and he came back saying, I feel you're out of touch, and it's okay to admit that. I feel like he was mocking me. And calling people snowflakes, good leadership isn't aggressive. You know, again, this is story time. This isn't a normal video, but this is me and you. Just we're getting through this. So I said to him, I said, you know what? I might be out of touch. And I'm curious why the words of a stranger would entice you to write such a long, detailed message. Because for me, I think nothing of it. But there was a trigger here, and I don't know what it was. He just said, I'm sharing my thoughts, and I want to have a great debate, which I'm allowed to. I said, okay, no problem. Call it like you see it. Some people are offended by snowflakes, some people are not. And he says, no, I'm not offended. I had to sit and watch your opinion. Thanks for listening to mine. I personally don't believe in your aggressive tactic. I find it small dick energy. Well, that's awkward. I said, listen, I understand. I'm down for a debate. And I said, that's what I hoped I could get from the show. People wanting to have a debate. So we have a discussion. But with editing and how, shows do their thing, my message didn't come totally straight. I said, but I'm good to have a discussion, but you seem angry. You seem to be throwing insults. And I mean, that's not a debate. That's not a discussion. He said, well, you don't have to listen to me. You can block me. I said, okay, but how about this? Is there something specific we can discuss? Because I'm open to that. And he said, well, a white male with tons of privilege on TV calling people snowflakes. It's the norm from a toxic generation. Sometimes you have to expand yourself out of how you were brought up and what you were raised to think. So I had to say what I had to say. I'm like, dude, I'm looking at your picture. You are a white male. So I don't understand this hypocrisy. You're calling me what you are. How does that work? How is that a form of discussion, of debate? And he said, well, I'm a white gay male. You have no idea what it's like on the other side. Again, it's typical argument from a white, straight male of your generation. I said, okay, so you don't want to debate. You want to play victim and you want to blame me. No problem. He says, no, I'm not a victim. Victims go on TV and scream and call people names. I am not guilty of that, luckily. I said, gotcha. Listen, you keep typing. I feel there's pain there. And I'm not a psychologist, a psychiatrist, none of that, but you can just hear the anger. I said, I'm not blocking you. Let it out. Let's, we'll move on from here after. Then he chimes in saying, also, for a leadership guru, bruh, there's no guru in this guy, okay? I'm just a guy with a channel telling what I think is right and wrong. Anyway, he goes on to say, is this even you or is it your assistant? Bruh, this is me. I don't do an assistant thing. I think that would be cool, but that's not me. Anyways, I know someone in this business doesn't usually have time for this, especially right after a public appearance. So I took a picture of myself on the couch. It was not a good looking picture. After that, I shared the picture. I said, fair enough, but this is me talking to you. I kid you not. Here was his next response. Sorry for being a dick. Just triggered. I don't know you at the end of the day. Keep hustling. Do you see how amazing this has now turned out? Not that he said, I'm a guru. Let's overlook that part. But the idea of having a discussion where somebody, you can tell that they're triggered, you can tell that they're angry. And instead of being a jerk, you be open to it. You understand that there's something else going on there. I'm not the target. He wasn't angry at me per se. My response was this. This is what I hoped for. You're a good man and thank you for this conversation. Part of my role on the show was to trigger. And I knew this going in. Probably not ideal, but also a pretty cool thing for somebody who's never been on national television. He said, well, you did it. I'm not shocked with reality TV. They try to get people to trigger. Then he says, at the end of the day, I was the one watching the trash TV. I find all talk shows to be this way, but that's only an opinion. And hopefully, I'm not the only one who's reached out, and hopefully, they don't spit at you any more than I have. Great conversation. I don't need to agree with you, but I'm sorry for pissing on your appearance. And I said, you know what? Thank you very much. This is exactly why we have difficult conversations. This wasn't about Mike versus Tony. This was about somebody's ideals not in agreement with another person's ideals and them lashing out. As leaders, we need to be able to, as difficult as it may be, we need to be able to step back. We need to be able to address the situation and try to understand where the other person was coming from. Now, did Tony agree with what I said? No, at the end of the conversation, he still didn't like that I said snowflakes and called his generation a bunch of snowflakes, and I can appreciate that. But did he also then take time to man up and say, this wasn't the battle, you're not the problem. This was an internal thing that I got triggered and it was part of TV and I know how TV works. They try to trigger. Yes, my level of respect for Tony is to the moon. I wish him the best and I really enjoy having this conversation because when I feel like sometimes listen, we're all human. Sometimes people say things and I want to rip their throat out. Is that normal to go out in public doing that? No, of course not. But Tony allowed me to flex my put into practice what I teach and what I talk about on this channel. Tony gave me the opportunity to flex that muscle. And it was a wonderful outcome. And I have no doubt in my mind that if I reached out to Tony today, we would have a great conversation. So, in short, after story time, I hope you're not sleeping. If you are, get your coffee. But I hope you take away with you that even when somebody is attacking you, there's a deeper layer. And if you can just tough it out and work to get to that deeper understanding, I'm not saying you're going to make a best friend, but you're definitely not making enemies. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.